Hey, everybody, welcome back to Dentistry Unmasked. I'm David Rice. I'm the chief editor at Dentistry IQ with always.
Pam Maragliano-Muniz, Chief Editor for Dental Economics. David, we were talking earlier about being in network,
Hmm.
and I know that I'm good for the other F word, but we're going to talk about a different F word today. We're going to talk about the fear that a lot of practices exhibit and experience, and that's holding them back sometimes from dropping plans that they know they should and need to consider not being in network with. So we decided to fight that fear and bring pretty much the best people in the industry to help you understand what it could mean for you to drop a plan, and also like how crappy some crappy plans really are. So Jordon Comstock, Ben Tuinei, my favorite duo in dentistry. Welcome, you guys.
Thank
Hey,
you,
thanks for
Dr.
having us
Pam
on.
and
Yeah.
Dr. David. Great to chat with both of you again. Love reading your guys' stuff in the magazines. I always
Yeah.
follow what you have to say. You guys are
I
smart
just like
people.
ta- I just like talking about PPOs and how to get rid of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a problem. Yes.
Yeah, a big problem.
I
Ben,
think
what
so.
didn't Ben and I just did a webinar together, and I think the data we shared, the average PPO write-off is what, 300,000 a year? Is that what you said? I believe. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's for the average practice. Yeah, it's
Yeah, which
closer to
is
40% ish,
and the
you
average
know.
practice practices dentistry for about 40 years, so that's $12 million in write-offs over their career. It's quite the chunk of change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a problem in the industry for sure. But the good thing about this whole issue, the issues that we've been experiencing, they're not new, right? They've been around for decades. But one of the nice um, sort of effects of the pandemic, if we can find positive things from that whole era, and forgive me if that offends anybody, because I know the pandemic wasn't easy, and a lot of us are still feeling the aftermath of it. But as it pertains to insurance and dentistry, the best thing that happened for the industry is that it started motivating doctors to go out of network in
Yeah.
large numbers. And the result of which is the insurance companies are sort of backpedaling, and they're figuring out ways to be more accommodating on in-network statuses. I mean, I was just up in Montana for their that's the other midwinter conference that goes on. It's a much smaller one. But interestingly, a lot of the doctors in Montana, as you know, it's very spread out. Um, a lot of them were getting their office fees accepted by Delta to be the allowed amounts, the fee schedule, right? As a PPO
Hmm.
provider, which is 40% above what they were getting in the past. And you're starting to see that effect of fee schedule changes across the country. But the other side of it, and this is something that will be fixed, is that because fees are going up, we're also starting to see an increase in denials. So when you really think about it, the insurance industry is trying hard to protect their profits, right? By for many years maintaining lower fee schedules. But now that doctors are going on in large numbers, they're looking at other ways to capture revenue. I mean, not capture revenue, prevent money from going out, right?
Yeah.
Get receiving premiums and trying to keep as much of that as they can. So the denials are on the rise significantly across the country, which is I'm okay with that problem because it could be fixed, So that's sort of a quick report on what I'm seeing with this whole realm of out of
Hmm.
network.
It's interesting because you say preserve your revenues or their revenues. I think ultimately what it'll do is it's going to force dentists to document better, which I think is
Mhm.
going to help, get the coverage that they're needing and getting the reimbursements that they deserve, but also protecting the practice. But Ben, when you said, protecting your revenues, it's just like I had a flashback to one of Jordan's slides with the not even revenues, the salaries of the CEOs of these major insurance companies. Like they're just trying to keep
Gotta
their
protect those salaries. Yeah.
I mean,
What some
it's
numbers out, Pam?
actually yeah, no, Jordan, tell us because I mean, like, all right, let's get you the blood pumping, get you pissed off because I'm telling you, as a practice owner,
Yeah.
it's going to make you really upset.
Yeah, I don't remember all of the salaries, but there's CEOs for dental insurance companies that definitely have multi-million-dollar salaries. Ben, do you memorize all those? I mean, I wish they were my salaries. That's one thing that I thought.
So the one state that has a constant disclosure on what the Delta executives are paid is Washington State.
Yeah, yeah.
They have an
Weird
agreement
state.
with the state association to send a listing of what their executives get paid. And I think the current report indicates that the former CEO, James Dwyer, is still getting paid 2.6 million a year as a retired member of the executive board for Delta Dental. Well, as a retired CEO. And they list how many hours they work, and this is sort of laughable, is that the former CEO gets 2.6 million, but he works 0 hours, right? So that's sort of part of his retirement package. Other CEOs for like healthcare, health insurance companies, the minimum salaries that you see is around 16 million a year, but that's just salary. They don't, I mean, they every year they get dividends, and
I was gonna say
bonuses.
dividends and equity, yeah, probably.
Yep. So that $16 million salary equates to about 55 million in actual income for that particular CEO, and then you have other CEOs that make closer to $100 million a year. And this is insurance. These are the people that we ask to manage our healthcare benefits. And I don't know about you, but this year, my healthcare premium almost doubled.
Yeah.
And I get it. We've had a lot of sick people over the last few years as a result of the pandemic, a lot more sick people than usual. But I don't understand the dynamic of paying one person millions of dollars when many families are struggling to even pay their insurance premiums. You know what I mean? And then dentistry sort of gets worse. It's like you're paying $500 a year for $1,000 annual maximum. It's like, that's not a really good way to buy a benefit,
Save it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
insurance.
I hope they went to 4 years of undergrad and 4 years of grad school and paying their tuition back at 7% interest rate like dentists are, right?
Goodness.
I mean, come
yeah.
on, that is just something's wrong with the system. So, but there's things we can do about it, right? So
Absolutely.
we were talking before we hit record here that David, you on multiple occasions as you scaled your practices had to drop plans. And so I want to ask you, David, when did you decide to do that? And I'm also going to ask you guys, how do you identify a plan that's really a dud? Because you can't really, and you shouldn't really drop everything. Because I feel like for me, like I get emotional and I'm like, we gotta drop a plan. Sucks.
Yeah.
Drop it. And I feel like that's not the approach you should take. And I feel like a lot of us as dentists do that. So yeah. So David, I want to hear a little bit about, how you kind of did that, but then also how do we identify a plan that we maybe should consider saying goodbye to?
I'll frame the story with the first practice that I bought was fee for service from day one. So I had a taste for a better way. So as we scaled and we brought more locations on that had already been participating for many years, from day one, my goal was, what's my time frame to take these practices and make them look like home-based practice? Because that $12 million concept that we started with before over the course of a career was like not something I was going to be willing to participate with. So, super high view. And then, Ben and Jordan, you guys can add so much more flavor to this is have a strategy, unplug your emotion. Yes. Have a strategy and strategy being like, you need to know your patient base. You need to know who's on what plan. You need to know how well connected those people are to influencers within your practice and in your community. But really, from a strategic standpoint, our goal was, as we figured out how many people, worst case scenario, could walk out the door for XYZ plan, how was I going to replace those people? So we built, marketing plans, largely internal, and then added some external pieces to that said, we need to put this many butts in the seat every month to compensate for said plan we're going to drop. And I didn't worry too much about who was in the seat. I just worried about someone was in the seat and that they, from their dental IQ was less important to me, that they knew we weren't going to be on an insurance and they were going to be in the seat. And then once we had critical mass, we could then start targeting people that we actually wanted in the seat over the course of time. And you started off with the my second favorite F-bomb, fear. And the reality is, if you're watching this or listening to this and you're going to try to make the argument to me that you love your PPO practice and losing 300 grand a year, I don't believe you. I just think it's easier to be afraid and come up with 100 reasons of why you should keep doing it than it is to learn from two really, really smart guys. So I'm excited to hear the details of, how you help practices navigate these waters.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I know that there's a tie-in to what Jordon does and the whole out of network. So I'm just gonna, Jordon, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna go through some of the basic steps towards going out of network.
Yeah.
Because membership plans is usually in the beginning in terms of the steps as a sort of to get you prepared. Because a lot of your patients at some point when you go out of network, many may ask, hey, what other dental plan are you going to stay with that I can switch to? It's like, perfect question. To our membership plan, and
we like that question.
Yeah. So the first step, kind of piggybacking on what you said, Dr. David, in terms of identifying the right, well, at least where to start with dental plan, dropping dental insurance. There's 100 different ways in which you can approach what plan should I start with first. My version is sort of picking a dental plan that you could use as a training platform to train your team members on verbiage and the process, but picking a dental plan where you'll likely have less hassles being out of network with. And the objective in my mind is that when you start with an out-of-network transition that's relatively simple, the team members will grow in their confidence. A lot of times team members are fearful about going out of network. The common misconception is that if I go out of network, I'm going to lose every single last one of my patients on that dental plan. But if you start going out of network and the patients are staying and they're giving you positive feedback, imagine what that does to yourself as a practice owner, but also your team members, who are the ones that usually field the negative phone calls from patients, right? And we don't want that. We don't want the front office team members or anybody in the practice to have a bad experience the first time you go out of network. So my pick, well, I don't know. I don't know if I should name insurance carriers, because I know that Dr. Pam and David, we dealt with that one legal issue last year. So you know what? We're going to keep the names of the insurance companies outside of this conversation. But if you want a recommendation, just email me directly, and I can tell you the easiest dental plans to start with, and just start with that one. And so there's something to be said about, you also talked about the emotional desire of the doctors to want to go out of network. I agree with that. You want to think this through and slow pace your out of network, meaning you want to have an in-person 6-month conversation with those patients as they come in for a minimum of 6 months. All you're telling these patients, again, this is Ben Tuinei version. There's multiple different ways in which this is taught.
It's a good version, Ben. It's a great version.
It is.
So I always think about, in my experience, when doctors go out of network, the traditional format is we're going to send our termination to the insurance, and then we're going to send a letter out to our patients. But within 3 months after you make the decision, you're out of network. And if you talk to your colleagues that have done that in the past, you'll notice that a larger number of patients have a knee-jerk reaction to that. It's a negative emotional reaction. Some might call it fight or flight, right? In terms of them feeling like you abandoned them, you betrayed me, right? How dare you? And so that's why they leave, because they just they feel like in-network is important, and that's one of the reasons why they come to you. But that's actually not the reason why they come to you. The real reason why they come to you is because they trust you, they like you. It's a place where they feel confident, if they have good customer service experience. And this is the other thing, is that when you look at negative reviews, they hardly have to do with your clinical expertise. They mostly have to do with how the patients felt, or the financial component, right? The business side. It's very rarely the clinical skills. And so when we talk to patients about going out of network, it has to be non-committal because we don't want to trigger that flight or fight response, right? So I say to patients, when we're with them, knee to knee, eye to eye, usually in the hygiene chair is the best place to deliver this, is we're thinking about making a change with our dental plan to switch towards an out-of-network practice, out-of-network status. And the reason why is because in-network is so restrictive and it threatens our ability to sustain the kind of quality care that we believe you deserve, right? And to us, quality is non-negotiable. And that's the reason why we're just thinking about it. Don't worry about today. You're still in network. If we decide to make that change in the future, we're going to let you know. But we thought we'd just bring this up in case you have any questions or concerns. We'd love to hear them out. And then you just close it. You just continue the conversation, but you don't solicit the patient to respond. You might want to say something along the lines of, if we do make this move, we really hope you'll stay with us. And that's our hope, because we're really considering this for you as our patient to protect quality by eliminating all the unnecessary restrictions that insurance place on us, right? So if you really think about that angle, if you're the patient sitting in the chair, the question is that going to upset me? I mean, do you feel upset if you were the patient being told that? And the answer to that almost always is no. Most of the patients respond by saying, I really appreciate you mentioning that. I don't think we're going to switch, but yeah, just let us know if you do decide to make that move, but thank you for bringing it up. So this is the other part about building the confidence of your team members, is that when the majority of your patients are responding that way, it'll start to click in the minds of your team members, and they're going to start to think, this is actually not as scary or as bad as I thought it was going to be, right? I can do this. We can do this together. So 6 months down the road, that's the time when I recommend, yes, send your letter at that point. Again, Ben Tuinei version. I know a lot of coaches don't recommend sending letters, and that's also fine too. But the reason why I like sending letters out is because the letter says, we've talked to all of you that had this dental plan, and overwhelmingly, everybody's given us positive feedback that quality is important to you. So our intent to go out of network has been confirmed, because it seems like we're in alignment on the delivery and protection of quality care, right? So, and then you kind of outline very briefly, but you start with that in the letter, because the patients will remember having that conversation with you, and what they won't remember is feeling any negative emotion. Well, some people might have felt some, but majority don't. But in the end, the common feedback that you hear from patients is, thank you for including me in such a big decision. I know that this is your business, this is your practice, but the fact that you included me in such a big decision, it makes me feel appreciative and more loyal to you now. So yeah, I'm going to stay. So that sort of process, what it does to people is it gives them pause on what they value in terms of their relationship with you. Do I value in-network, or do I value quality, right? So you plant the seed and you confirm it with that letter. And what you find, like with most dental plans, like the non-Deltas, United Concordias, and Blue Crosses, you're retaining 90% or more of your patients. With the Blue Crosses and Delta, the average rate of retention is about 81%. That actually comes from Rick Wilford's office, a former Academy of Dental CPA member, retired, but he's tracked the numbers, current numbers, and 81% is the average retention among Delta, Blue Cross, and United Concordia, if you follow a process like this or a similar one. And then membership plans, maybe Jordon, you can chime in on, the areas of membership plans, because membership plan you develop, if you don't have one, you need to develop that before you start the out-of-network journey. And then I've been hogging all the time. Sorry, Jordon.
You're good, dude. You're good, bro. To add yours, as you're cutting out and dropping PPO contracts, you mentioned some retention rates, right? Where practice or patients, some patients leave. That's not always bad, right? There is such a thing as an unprofitable patient, or maybe a difficult patient. We talk about this all the time here at BoomCloud about our own customers, like who's a good customer and who's a bad customer. Sometimes when you're working with sales teams like we do, they think every customer is a good customer, but that's just simply not true. So as you're kind of optimizing and refining your practice with PPO contracts, it actually is a good thing to start cutting out some patients that may not be profitable or want to move with you in this next stage of your practice. And that's actually a really good thing. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's really good. So as you're going through that, what Ben said, the insurance contracts, you want to create a membership program and a marketing strategy. The stat I shared at the beginning of the show, we mentioned that practices are writing off $300,000 a year to be in network with PPOs. That you can look at that as a marketing fee. But if you were to hire a marketing firm today, you're not going to spend $300,000 a year. So that means the cost to acquire a patient is actually cheaper as you cut out insurance companies and focus on getting a marketing agency or an in-house marketing team, depending on your size of practice. So you always want to have a marketing strategy to continue the flow of new patients coming in. And then you want a retention strategy and a revenue strategy with a membership program. So a membership program is beautiful because it creates recurring revenue for your practice, a way for when you're dropping these PPO contracts to convert those patients over to your own membership program that's controlled by you. The reasons why we don't like dental insurance as practice owners is because they hurt our cash flow, they hurt our profit margins, and it jeopardizes our patient relationships, right? Those are three core things in any type of business. If I had a business partner or an employee that were hurting those three areas of my business, I'd probably fire them as quickly as possible because that causes a lot of pain. So a membership program not only helps you attract new patients, because over half the United States doesn't have dental insurance, and we as practice owners think that we have to cater to this segment of the market that's on insurance plans when over half don't have dental insurance. Think of all the small business owners and their employees that don't offer any type of insurance package, and the employees have to just figure it out, right? We at Boom Cloud, all of our employees get a dental membership program with Dr. Anderson at Essential Dentist. Hey, Dr. Anderson. And that's how we benefit our employees, and we're a small business, right? So think of all the small business owners and their employees. That's a huge market that's really not being served from a dental perspective, right? So a membership program does that. The 55 and up communities, people are dropping their insurance all the time as they age. And Pam and David, you guys both know that as a patient gets older, they need more dental care, right? Their teeth are wearing out. I manage the dental lab, and that was most of our patients that would come in, for denture repairs and things like that, is they're aging and needed more care. So most of those patients don't have a dental plan. In fact, I think that's some of the biggest issues with insurance companies is they're seeing a lot of patient churn in that area, that demographic, and they don't even know how to solve for it because they're expensive patients to the insurance companies, right? So you need marketing as you're weeding out the PPOs and finding the weak PPOs that you need to refine. You need a marketing strategy. You can do that through SEO, through anything on Google, right? In fact, I've been doing a lot of research on Google, and there's a lot of patients looking for uninsured options. They don't have insurance, and they're trying to find a dentist that can help them, right? A lot of patients think, well, I need to go to the dentist. I can only go to the dentist if I have insurance, which is so untrue. We know that as practice owners and dentists that you can help anybody that's willing to come into the office, right? So marketing, membership programs, if you do the math as you scale a membership program, this will help ease the fear if you're going out of network. When you build recurring revenue in your practice, it's the most powerful business model. I've seen practices get to anywhere from 6 figures a year in recurring revenue, which is awesome, to $500,000 to $1 million and more in just recurring revenue from the membership revenue. That's not counting treatment. That's just the subscription, which the average subscription in dentistry is about $40 a month per patient. So if you think about that, the reason why insurance companies have the largest buildings in every state is because they have a recurring revenue model, right? So as you transition out of the PPO world into this new amazing world of fee-for-service, membership, subscription dentistry, you then now have a better business model. Because if you look at insurance companies, they actually have a really good business model. We hate it because we're on the other side of it. But from a business perspective, their business model is actually brilliant. So if you can take some of that and add that to your practice, then you're going to have a better practice that runs better, allows you to sleep better at night because you got predictable recurring revenue, easing that fear of dropping, all the PPO contracts or some of them. So that's kind of how I think of it.
That's great stuff. And, we started with fear, emotion, and I would say the only emotion greater than fear is hope. But
Sure.
better than the emotional side is meeting people who can help you strategically, logically, get you from where you are to where you want to go. So, guys, one at a time, like how does our following follow you and get to you so they can learn the right logical lessons to actually accomplish what, whether we're willing to say it out loud or not, we want. So Ben, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can visit our website, veritasdentalresources.com. Veritas is V as in Victor, ERITAS. So veritasdentalresources.com. Or if you want to chat, you can call our office and schedule a meeting with me directly, 888-808-4513. As you can tell, Jordan and we're open books. So if you have questions, send them over, and our promise is that you'll get answers. And then the last thing I'll mention on that before I pass it to Jordan is, Veritas is the reason why we named the company Veritas. Veritas is a Latin word that stands for truth. And unfortunately, truth is something that you can't really get out of insurance carriers. It's very difficult to get true answers out of them, or the true path, which is, to me, fee-for-service is definitely alive and making a comeback in our industry. And that could be your true path. If that's your true path and you need some help, let us know.
Awesome.
Yeah, for us, I don't have a cool name like Veritas. Boom Cloud. It's just a weird name, I guess.
You got the lightning. You got the Hercules, his lightning rod right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that's better. That's better. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason, so Boom Cloud's a membership platform tool that helps your practice create and scale a patient membership program and drive recurring revenue, as I mentioned, and even find like your existing uninsured patients. We help with that. The reason why I started Boom Cloud was I used to work for a dental lab, my dad's dental lab, to be specific, and I got to be close with a lot of practices in Utah, and a lot of the venting that came to the dental lab buddies, I guess, were a lot of insurance issues. And it really bothered me that our clients would call us and be like, hey, we're in this really bad PPO plan. This patient really needs this denture. Can you guys, give it a discount? And I'm like, I didn't sign the PPO contracts, and we're still dealing with this as a dental lab manager. I was like, man. So I simply asked, how can we change this in dentistry, to all my buddies that are running practices? And we came up with the idea of creating these membership programs. So that's what Boom Cloud is. You can find us at boomcloudapps.com. We've got a lot of free content, webinars, articles, ebooks to learn how to create and scale membership programs. One of our latest books is the $1 Million Membership Program ebook to learn from practices that have scaled to $1 million of annual recurring revenue from just their membership program. So go grab that book and then schedule a demo, see how our platform can help with your practice.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. This is such a hot button topic for so many dentists, and you guys really create an outlet that gives us, like David said, hope and a plan and empowerment. So all things that are super powerful and needed in this industry. So thank you. All right, everybody, for Dentistry Unmasked, we will see you all next week. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening to the show this week. And thanks to our guests and sponsors on this episode.
Please check out our social media at Dr. Pamela _Maragliano and at Dental Economics Official.
Or you can check me out at Ignite DDS or at Dr. David Rice.
And go to dentaleconomics.com to receive dental economics. You can choose to receive DE in print or digitally, and you can also get the details of our Principles of Practice Management conference on our website.
If you have topics or guests or anything you'd like to talk about on the show, send us an email to dentistryunmaskedpodcast@gmail.com, and we will do our very best to make it happen. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.